Hey, what's up guys? This is Anthony from Anthony's Customs, and for this review, we are looking at the McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse DARKSEID. We're looking at the armored and unarmored version. The armored version is gold label, and I believe it was Target exclusive. It's been a while since I got these in the mail. So yeah, Target exclusive for the armored one. The naked one, which is nowhere near as good looking, is just the regular release. And they're basically the same figure with a couple of slight differences, so I'm going to just do them both in one video. I didn't want to do two and make you guys click on two separate things. I'm not about that life. I'm going to show it all in one. So that's what we're going to do. The packaging, just while we're here, the only difference is it doesn't say armored on the unarmored one. It just says DARKSEID, and it doesn't have the gold label. That's it. Packaging is the same otherwise, so you don't need to see that. Other than the back of the packaging, which I'll get to when I talk about the trading/collector card that's included. Okay, let's go ahead and get it off the stand and take a closer look. But before we get into that, I have to tell you about the sponsor of today's video. It's Into the AM. They're the awesome t-shirt people. Their number one thing, as far as I'm concerned, is the graphic tees. They do sell a bunch of other stuff on their website, but the thing that I think is best for them, graphic tees. They don't tell me what to say, they just tell me they want to do a sponsor spot. That's what we're doing. Everything I'm saying is completely up to me. It's my opinion. I think these are the best tees ever. The best graphic tees. I haven't had any of the plain ones yet, but they do sell plain tees also. And you can bundle them. You can bundle the plain ones, you can bundle the graphic ones. They have a subscription service where you sign up and you pay less than a normal price and you get a different shirt every month, but it's random, so you save money, but you don't get to pick, that kind of thing. All kinds of deals going on, but the reason I'm talking to you about them today is they have a special sale going on for the graphic tees bundle, which is even better pricing than normal bundles, so you can't really beat that. And the thing is, these shirts are the best shirts I've ever owned as far as graphic tees go. They fit perfectly, they have narrow sleeves, they have long torsos, they're kind of like an athletic fit, and they're super colorful. The saturation, the print quality, unparalleled. Best graphic tees I own. I don't wear anything else anymore as far as graphic tees go. Like, this doesn't replace a business suit. I don't wear business suits, but love these shirts. I get compliments on them all the time. You guys keep telling me you're signing up, you're buying them, and you're loving them, so I'm going to keep doing sponsor spots as long as they'll have me, and they're great shirts. Everything's wonderful about them, but I want to let you guys know about the sale. It's going on from the 13th through the 16th, and that's on the bundled graphic tees, and there's a link in the description below. My link does save you some money. I think you get a free shirt, your first shirt free, if you sign up for the subscription service also, and so you can't beat it. Yeah, use the link in the description below. Into the AM, best graphic tees, bar none, that I've experienced ever. So let's go ahead and get back into the review. This guy stands just about 24.5 centimeters to the top of his head, which makes him pretty close to, let's say, 9 3/4 inches. And of course, you can adjust that a little bit, get his head up a little bit like that, you know, things like that. But that's going to give you a good enough idea. So obviously, we have the armored one here. I'm going to use him for most of the review. I'll just show you the differences really quick between the two as far as the actual figure goes. The upper torso, as you might guess, is different. The abdominal section is the same, the arms are the same, the head is the same, the collar is the same. It's really just this piece right here. That's it. And the difference is this guy has this kind of range, which is really nice, like really, really good range. That's a really well executed, it feels like a single, but a really well executed single ball peg. We'll get to articulation, but I just wanted to get this out of the way so I can only hold one of these big figures the whole time. And this guy has almost none of that range, like it's virtually zero in the upper torso. The lower torso is still the same. His feels a little better. It should be the same though, it's the same lower torso. So anyway, I'll just show you the torso articulation right now because professionalism. So look, there you go. His torso is amazing. The best torso McFarlane has done ever, probably. It's really good. Lower torso is a big ball peg. This is at least one big ball peg. It feels like one, could be two, but there you go. All over the place. Look at that. Okay, really good torso. That's the only difference in the bodies, other than obviously that you can see this sculpt is, he's got the armor plate on there. Okay, so before we get into anything else, let's do a quick question of the day. Which of these do you think is a better looking figure? For me, it's hands down the armored one. The unarmored one looks super weird. You guys can let me know what you prefer. Okay, let's talk about the aesthetic on these guys. The other one's the same other than this, so I'm not counting that in the rating. That's a personal preference. I'm going to be talking about the sculpt work and the paint work and whatnot. So paint work on this guy is, there's either some black just mushed into the plastic as part of like a marbling type deal, or it's some kind of really half-assed wash. I don't know, but that's for the entire skin. Otherwise, the skin is all just this gray plastic, which is fine. That's okay. All of the armor is molded, semi-transparent, like metallic or marbly metallic blue, except for these parts right here. These are painted, and the paint matches pretty well. but it's not an especially clean paint job. I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. Yeah, you will. There's a lot of blue bleed onto the leg, so that's definitely not great. And the metallic paint the metallic paint and molded plastic is just not very metallic. It's good enough, but it's like, it could have been shiny a little bit. Could have been cool. Like this part back here is pretty shiny for whatever reason. If the whole thing looked like that, it would have been really cool. You get a few peaks of it here and there, but the rest is just a very drab, dull armor. And it's really uninteresting. And that's it as far as the entire body goes. You do get some paint up here in the head, obviously, but it's super lazy. The black around the eyes leaves big holes, big gaps, big spots. The eyes aren't painted well. The lips are painted pretty well, that's good. But there's just no care put into it at all. It's very cheap looking, very, very cheap looking. And there's no wash on the armor anywhere either, by the way, so it doesn't emphasize the sculpt at all. So yeah, I don't know, it's fine. It's not good, it's not bad. It could be way better. Like, this is such an easy paint job to improve upon. Get some metallic blue and a black wash. Just go ham. I would just put a black wash on it as is. If you want to make this super easy, guys, I'm going to give you a quick customizing tip for those of you who aren't professionals. Just do a black wash on it as is, because it's already metallic, it's already a nice even base. Black wash it as is, and then dry brush a blue metallic over that. Slightly brighter than the blue that's here, obviously would be good, because you want your dry brush to be lighter. That's the highlights, and then your wash is going to sit in there as part of the lowlights, and that'll make it pop super easy. And then you could even just leave the skin alone if you wanted to, but the armor would make it look much better. Anyway, okay, so aesthetically speaking, very, very, very generous 7 out of 10, only because they didn't have a whole lot to work with, so I can't complain too much, but they still didn't do that good of a job executing, especially on the face. There's not really any excuse for that. Alright, now as far as accessories go, each of these guys comes with the big spear thingy, and that has a nice wash on it, and they each get their own little display stand, which is definitely not big enough for this big heavy figure, but they do each have one of those. I do want to talk about the collector cards for these guys. I want to point out that the regular Darkseid comes with the colored card, which is very cool looking. Very nice card. And the armored Darkseid comes with the same thing, but it's gray. Grayscale, and he's not wearing his armor. And also, I'd like to point out how big his chest is there, and how shrimpy it is here. Looks terrible. The unarmored one. But the armored card doesn't even have his armor on him. That's very annoying. There you go. Now you can see what the cards look like exactly. But that's the thing that bothers me about the packaging, is the packaging for the gold label one is the black and gray one without any armor on it, even though it's the armored version. That's super annoying. They couldn't just pick a different shot with armor or something? I don't like that. That's very irritating that the fancy one has less of a good card, and it doesn't even match the figure. So accessory-wise, no fists, nothing. I mean, I know he didn't really do much in the movie, but still. Nah, 5 out of 10 for accessories. A bendy, I mean, it's not actually bendy, but a weak-ass plastic for the spear. A little peg stand that doesn't fit the figure, and a card that doesn't match the figure. Don't like it. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about the articulation. The head is on a double ball peg. You can see how useless this peg's going to be because it's almost the same size as, or the ball is almost the same size as the peg itself. This part gets decent range, so that's pretty good. The head is completely hollow. I don't know why they keep doing that. Anytime you pose the figure doing anything other than leaving his chin down, you see how hollow the head is. Also, the head gets warped in the package very easily. Hairdryer will fix it, but that's very annoying. It shouldn't be that hollow. So if he looks up, if you shoot from the below, if you shoot a photography thing from below, those are called photographs, by the way, it's not going to look good unless you sink his head all the way back on his neck. If you lean forward, oh, that's right, it can't really lean forward. It can't really do much leaning. It does some, but not as much as it could do. It's not very well executed. Look how little the ball is compared to the thickness of the neck. Make it a lot bigger, and then you're going to have more range than you can use, which is a good thing. There's no reason to do this. This is like, let's limit the amount of range we have for no reason. They didn't need to do that. So, it's fine, but it could be a lot better at no additional cost. For the shoulders, we technically do still have that ball peg in there that every McFarlane figure has, although it's useless on this one. It's also super floppy. This guy's just as loose as Steppenwolf in some cases. Like, he's not... Maybe not just as loose, that's a bit too much, but he's very loose. You do get your full rotation, you do get to bring the arm out to the side. Bicep swivel on this side works. On this side, it works okay on this one. This one was stuck. It still is stuck. I had another one of these where I twisted it and it just twisted right off. It didn't break, but what it looks like is there's the peg coming out of the bicep that goes into the arm that's normal, but they also have another peg, basically a little cup that's glued into the bicep. And then that goes over the peg. So when you twist this, if that's stuck, it just shears the glue and that little cup comes out. And your only option is to glue it back together. So I don't know what kind of design choice that was. You can't have the mechanical connection be the same swivel as the joint itself, otherwise it's just going to fall apart, which is what it did. Now this one is just stuck, so I'm leaving it. This one wants to work, so that's okay. But it's the same arms on either figure, of course. For the elbows, we have a double jointed elbow, which works nicely. No problems there. I don't know why they keep doing these huge cavities in the elbows. There's no reason for it. Nothing's being tucked in there. Why are there giant cavities around the hinges? It's terribly ugly. Doesn't look good. Also, the wrist joint is all the way in the middle of the forearm. The wrist is up here, where the end of the joint is, and the joint is actually in the forearm. So, like, you just break the arm. That even looks like the arm is broken. What the heck? Why? Why? Also, it's loose. It's super loose and hideous looking. But it's very loose. All that ratcheting, all that weird sculpting, and it's very loose. And it's in the middle of the forearm. His arm looks busted every time you pose the wrist. Same thing on this side. How do these things happen? Okay, so McFarlane's company doesn't do a lot of articulation typically because he doesn't like doing articulation. He likes the sculpt work. That's fine. That makes sense. But if you're going to do articulation, at least do it in a way that doesn't ruin the sculpt. And that makes sense. This is just ridiculously bad. Those wrists are terrible. Alright, so I already showed you the torso on both of these guys. Under the skirt, you can see his special place where you have his joints. And you might say those joints don't look strong enough for a big figure like that, and hips like this, and legs this thick. And you're right, they're not. They're very floppy. He falls over all the time from his own weight. Anything you pose like that, it just pushes down. It's just really poor quality control or design. Like, it's not a good design to begin with. You can see the little tabs, the little fork that goes over the joint, and then you can see, hopefully, can you see the little peg that's in there? Yeah, there we go. So this whole leg has only tension from these two pieces that go on either side. Let me zoom out. They go on either side of the joint, and then it ratchets around on that peg. There's no pressure on these teeth in here. So even though you can feel the teeth as you do this, there's no pressure, so the legs are almost completely floppy, and it can't hold the weight of the figure. Going forward, equally loose. As far as range goes, that's as far as you're going to get. He can do kind of like a funny walk. They don't really go back too far unless you go out to the side. Going out to the side, you do get good range, but I already showed you it's very loose. Oh. Very, very loose. You do get a thigh swivel on this guy, which is a good thing. Bringing the legs back, you get... Oh, it doesn't work. Okay. So the way that's sculpted, this part right here, because it's sculpted to follow the leg, that's hitting something on the inside, it feels like. It just won't go. So that sucks. And that's it. That's your single jointed knee. Let's see if it works on this side. Nope, that's as far as it's going. Single jointed knee, like 15 degrees worth of bend. It will swivel at the shin, like that serves a purpose. So you can make it look like he's got broken arms and broken legs if you want. Also, I'll point out the armor likes to not be connected to the legs. So this is meant to be keyed in so that the blue armor like fills out the leg, but it doesn't fit properly, so you end up with these big gaps. These big meat flaps around his boots. So that's a thing. And then, almost lastly, we have the ankles, which are just ball hinges. So that's probably the best thing about the whole figure. You get ball hinges with really good range. Granted, they're heavily ratcheted, so it's going to be very difficult to find a neutral pose. Or a pose, any... It's hard to word that when I don't sleep. It's hard to find the right pose for the ankle when there's such a heavy ratchet. Look at the difference. That's one notch. That's neutral. So you can't go anywhere in between that. So you're going to do a lot of finagling to get this guy to pose. Granted, ball hinges are the best type of ankle in terms of range, but a heavy ratchet like that does detract from usability. Toe hinges, they're fairly heavy and usable, I guess. Those are fine for toe hinges, so I'll give them that too. That's a good thing. And that's it for the articulation. It's pretty much abysmal. The head being on ball pegs makes it better, but it's still poorly executed. The torso sucks on the armored one. On the unarmored one, it's really good. Nothing else really works well. loose joints, poor design, poor engineering, poor everything basically. Articulation on this guy gets a 5 out of 10. It's mostly bad. This guy can have a 6 if you're doing them separate because of the torso being better. But ultimately, it's another failed release overall. Like, I guess if you wanted to get it and just stand it there, it's gonna look good enough if you get the armored version. Unarmored, it's too scrimpy. Shrimpy. Skinny. Words. He's too skinny in the chest. Looks weird. But this is going to look good enough. If you repaint it, it's going to look really good, but don't expect to be doing much with it because the articulation blows. So my final verdict on this guy is definitely get the armored one. The unarmored one, even though technically better in the articulation, this one looks so much better because that one's chest is too skinny. And at least this one has the armor to detract from all of the weird things they did in the articulation. Very disappointing. Like, I get that he was barely in the movie, and as of right now, they're not making any more movies, so it doesn't really matter. And that they were going to sell these anyway. Everybody was going to buy them who liked the movie. So I guess it doesn't matter how lazy the execution is and how poor the quality control is, but those things are issues. So I'm going to give it a final verdict of only 6 out of 10. There's virtually no paint on it, virtually no effort in the engineering. The sculpt is okay, and accessories are not there. 6 out of 10 is generous. These things are getting more and more disappointing. I don't know what's going on these days, but it's like almost like they think people are going to buy stuff no matter what, and so they don't have to try. But maybe that is the case. I don't know, but that's not a good thing for people who do care and who aren't going to buy things no matter what, because then you're stuck with not having anything to buy, and then, well, I guess ultimately that leads to better products being made if enough people do that, but I don't think enough people are. I'll stop ranting about that. You guys can decide if you want to buy it or not. Now you have the information to make that decision wisely. Thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down and let me know why in the comment section below. And if you haven't subscribed, you might want to. I have new videos almost every single day and thousands already on the channel. So make sure you come back for all of that. And in the meantime, keep collecting.